Hey everyone, and welcome back to Swift Lessons for a speedy lead guitar lesson on how to use the open position of the E minor pentatonic scale. I'm going to take you through that scale, show you the names of the notes that are in it, and also the interval names, with the goal in mind of being able to solo over a basic 1-4-5 progression, be able to follow each of the chords in that progression. In the process of learning this, I'm also going to be sharing with you our lick of the week, and we'll learn how to adjust that lick to accommodate each of the chords in that chord progression. I got all the tabs available as usual at patreon.com/swiftlessons, where you can also find a diagram of the open position E minor scale to help you along with your soloing. Now, let's get started with your lesson. Okay, our lick of the week shows us how to use our open position pentatonic scale in E minor. We'll learn one phrase and then learn how to adjust it for the three common chords in a 12-bar blues in E. So over the one chord, E7. Over the 4 chord, A7. And over the 5 chord, B7. For your lick of the week. Okay, getting started learning our scale position, the open E minor pentatonic scale. Sounds like this. I have the tabs available for that, and also a full diagram of that scale at the patreon.com/swiftlessons page. Okay, so that was the open E string, our root. Then we're going up to the 3rd fret of the low E string. That was followed by the open A, the 2nd fret, the open D, the 2nd fret, the open G string, the 2nd fret, the open B, the 3rd fret, and the open E string, and the 3rd fret. So many great possibilities within that scale. Okay, and as that diagram on the Patreon page breaks down, each of the notes in this scale can be given a numeric name. And this numeric name comes from the notes in the scale's proximity or position in the major scale in this key. In this case, we're talking about the key of E. So the first note of this scale, we can call it the 1, or we could also call it the root. Okay, so that was open E string. The next note that we have, we can call that flat 3rd. And the reason for that is because G sharp is the 3rd note of the E major scale. Do, re, mi. If you flat that 3rd note, you end up on that 3rd fret low E string. Okay, so that was a lot to take in, but basically what we've ended up with is the first note of the scale, we call that the root or the 1, and that 3rd fret low E string, flat 3rd, because it's the 3rd note of the E scale, flat it. Next, we have the 4, open A string. Okay, that's the 4th of the key of E. So 1, flat 3rd, 4. The next note, we call that the 5. Then we have the open D string, we call that the flatted 7. All right, that's the 7th note of the E major scale, flatted back 1 fret. Okay? Then we're back to the root on the 2nd fret, D string. So, root, flat 3rd, the 4, the 5, the flatted 7, and the root finishes up that 1 octave. Now, octave just means when the starting note repeats itself. So we have E, G, A, B, D, and back to E again. So you can call these notes by their actual note name or by their numeric name, okay, or their interval name. Now from here, it's just going to repeat itself again. This is the root, 2nd fret D string. Then we'll have minor 3rd on the open G. the 4 on the A. Okay, that's the A note, 2nd fret G string. Okay, that's the 4th. Then we'll have the B. That's an interval of a 5th. That's open B string. The flatted 7 on the 3rd fret B string. And then we have the root again, open E string. All right, that's another octave. Now moving into the next octave, we have the flatted 3rd repeating itself, 3rd fret high E string. Okay, now I'm going to go through the entire scale, say its note name and also its interval name. Okay, starting with the open E string, low E string, that's our 1 or our root. G, that's our flatted 3rd. A, that's our 4th. B, that's our 5th. D, that's our flatted 7th. E, that's our root again, or a 1. Open G, that's our flatted 3rd. A on the 2nd fret G string, that's our 4th. Open B, that's our 5th. 3rd fret B string, that's a D note, and that's our flatted 7. Our root on the open E string, all right, E note. And then we're back to the high G note on the 3rd fret, high E string, and that is our flatted 3rd again. So what is the benefit of knowing this? Well, it allows you to follow a chord progression. I would recommend that you start off memorizing where all the 1s, 4s, and 5s are, because that is a basic blues progression, a 1-4-5 progression. E, A, and B. All right. If you know where those notes are in the scale, you'll be able to follow the progression around. The notes and the chords are going to match. So if my rhythm player plays me an E chord, then all the notes that are labeled 1 are going to sound great over top of that chord, and I'll create a melody around it. All right, so that was a little riff that just started with the root 1 and got me down an octave to another 1. Then if he played me a 4 chord, A7, I would just go to one of the notes that's labeled 4 in your diagram. Then if you went to a B7 chord, that's a 5 chord in this key, well, I would just find myself a B note. I got one here. I've got one here on the open B string. Or I could find that same tone moving out of our position, but it's also good to know that you can find the 5 right here on the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, and I'll be showing you more about that later. So, over the 1 chord, find a way to get to the 1. Then if the 4 chord comes in, then if the 5 chord comes in, so you're seeing how I'm following the progression. That's what's going to give your solos a sense of direction and continuity. It's giving your listener what they want. They want to hear you resolve on each of the chords as they come, okay? But there will be times that you want to kind of surprise your listeners too with some other alternatives. But generally speaking, you want to fill your solos up with a lot of this stuff, following the roots of each chord, so that way your solos are making sense, they sound really tight, and then from there you can build the expectations of your listener and choose to defy them if you want, or you can resolve for them. Okay, fantastic. Now you've learned and memorized your open position E minor pentatonic scale, and you understand the theory behind it, memorizing the note names and also the interval names of each note in that scale. Now it's time to move on to our lick of the week. I'm going to show you 3 different versions of it. One over the E7, our 1 chord, another over our 4 chord A7, and another over our 5 chord B7. So the first version is going to sound like this, real slow. Okay, one more time. Okay, that was a little faster. I'm going to break that up into a couple of parts now, 3 different parts. That's your first part. Great way to get into a lick. Bending the 2nd fret G string. All right, that's our 4. And we're bending it up about a half step. Then I'm gonna play the open B and open E string. I like those notes ringing out past each other. Then I'm gonna play that flatted 7, 3rd fret B string, and then pulling off to the open B. That's the first section. Get that down first. Then we have 3-0, 3-0 on the high E string, then the B string. Put the two parts together, we have. Then I'm gonna play the 2nd fret G string again, bend it up, and return. Then I'll pull off to the open string. And resolve on, which scale interval was that? That's right, it was the 1. Okay, the 2nd fret of the D string, that's our root, or you can call that the 1. So now that's resolved, nice and simple over that E7 chord. Okay, so that's how you would play that lick over the 1 chord, E7. Now let's adjust the very tail end to accommodate the 4 chord coming in on the rhythm section, an A7 chord. Okay, so that started off the same exact way. Parts 1 and 2 were identical, but then we went, bent the G string up, return, pull off, and instead of hammering onto the D string, we do that to the G string. Go into an A note, the root of that A7 chord. So I found myself a 4. If you look on your diagram, you'll see that that note right there is labeled 4. So it sounds great over top of the 4 chord. All right, now we're ready to move on to an adjustment for the 5 chord coming in, the B7 chord. Okay, this one's gonna sound like this. Really cool sound there. Starts off the same exact way. But then we're gonna take that 3rd section and just replace it with a slide up to our 5 note. Okay, I could have played the open B string, but it wouldn't have had the same sound to it because I wouldn't be able to vibrato that note. Okay, so that right there, 4th fret G string, is the same note that you'd have on your open B string. Okay, so that's a B note. Also, you could call that a 5. So over that B7 chord, one more time. Kind of shortening the lick up to accommodate the B7 chord coming in. Maybe after that, the A7 would come back. And maybe we go back to the 1. For your lick of the week over 3 different chords. Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this lead guitar lesson and your lick of the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much to my supporters at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Hope you're enjoying the bonus resources. I got many more lessons coming up, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia saying happy picking.